Welcome to a celebratory edition of the Let'sRun.com Track Talk podcast. Not only is it our USA Previews podcast and Let'sRun.com Founders Day, but there have been two big victories this week for common sense and all distance running fans. First, in the arbitration case backed by Let'sRun.com, USATF was required to pick its Pan Am Games team by its published rules. And then later in the week, the IAAF granted USATF's Olympic Marathon Trials gold label status, so top three at the trials automatically on the Olympic Marathon team. Sounds pretty simple, pretty basic, but a big victory for common sense distance running fans. Robert, happy birthday. Jonathan, welcome.
Yeah, well then, and happy birthday to yourself. If in case people who are wondering what Let'sRun.com Founders Day is, it's the birthday of Robert and Wheldon Johnson. Happy birthday, Robert, as well. I don't know if they're at the point where they no longer are comfortable sharing their age publicly, but I hope you guys have celebrating. It's a great week for the sport of track and field. It's a great week for running. It's a great week for Let'sRun.com.
Yes, and those of you that think we should not be taking any credit, I think that all running fans should take credit for the marathon trials, because if the distance fans don't revolt, don't get showed the USATF that the trials mean a lot to them, this doesn't happen. It really was fantastic on that front to see that. And then the Pan Am Games, I'm not going to lie, that felt really good. It may end up costing us $2,000, although we talked about sponsors at the beginning of the show. If you want to be a sponsor, you can be the sponsor of this week's podcast. Go to the Let'sRun.com GoFundMe. We're on the hook for $2,000 worth of legal fees to hold the USATF accountable. So we're trying to raise some money there. But that felt great. I mean, these people have ignored the rules for whenever they wanted, for as long as I could remember. And to actually hold them to that, to accountability was really great. One thing, I did think of a negative though, guys, and it looks like they're actually going to replace the team. Well, can you update people on that? There was the arbitrator didn't, he says you have to try to replace the team, but the Pan Am Games may not accept that. But we've heard from a few people, right, that they have been put on. Is that true?
Yeah, emailed Marissa Howard, who was a steeplechaser who should have been picked to the team. Essentially, if you guys don't know what's going on, USATF's published rules said they would pick the team based on 2019 marks. Instead, they picked the team from 2018 and 2019 marks. And Marissa Howard should have been picked for the team. She wasn't. She was part of this arbitration hearing that Let'sRun.com paid the $2,000 for. I emailed her, and she said she's been contacted by USATF. She's on the team. So it sounds like they have been able to make changes with the Pan Am Games Association. So this wasn't just a Pyrrhic victory, it sounds like.
But get this, all right? So Tyler Mccandless, he was also involved in the selection debacle in 2015, and he was involved in an arbitration case against USATF as well. He tweeted out on July 22nd, he said, he was asked by USATF to be on the Pan American Marathon team just 6 days before the race. He said he turned them down because obviously, you're not going to just be able to ready to run a marathon within 6 days. But that sort of shows you what this incompetence has led to, that they're trying to replace the marathon team 6 days out from race day.
It's a race day July 28th?
The marathon is, unlike the Olympics, the marathon actually comes first at the Pan Am Games as opposed to last.
So the Pan Am Games were on the same day as the USA's?
Well, the Pan Am Marathon, I don't think Tyler Mccandless was going to be running USA's.
I did think about the one negative. Imagine if you've been picked on the team for 2018, 2019, and you're obviously excited. Perhaps your family buys a ticket down to Costa Rica.
Peru.
Oh, excuse me, Peru.
Yeah, that's more. There's more than one negative in that case, but that's certainly it. To me, the biggest shame is athletes, no matter if you're 2018 or 2019 or how you got picked to this team, for a lot of these athletes, being told you're going to get to wear the USATF, the USA singlet in competition is a thrill. And to have that thrill taken away because of some bureaucratic snafu, it's just really unfortunate. And there are going to be people who are unhappy and people who've had their dreams crushed. And it's just sad that I know USATF, their intention probably wasn't to have that happen to athletes, but that has been what's happened in this situation.
What I really want to know, and I don't think anyone's heard this, maybe we should contact David Geifinger, the lawyer who represented us in this case, is has anyone in any of this, did it ever come up how this happened? Apparently USATF behind the scenes was telling people they intended to pick it in 2018-19, but when they published it, it only said 2019. So I want to know, Was that just a typo? Was it a mistake? How did that happen? And is someone being held accountable? And I was talking to a prominent coach yesterday about this case, and he was like, oh, this, team snafus happen all the time. He claimed this year at the World University Games. Now, apparently, I don't know if USATF actually enters everybody. It may have been the coach's fault, but USATF is involved in sending people to that somehow. That a Virginia Tech thrower showed up in Europe. I think they're in Europe somewhere. And was like, okay, I'm here to check in. They're like, well, you're not entered in the meet. So, and apparently also at the 2014 World Juniors in Eugene, one of America's top throwers, I think it may have been Ravens, what's her name, Saunders? Is that right, John?
Yeah.
And I'm not sure if it was her, but she's same thing, checked in. And they're like, well, you're not entered in the meet. So the fact that these mistakes, like as a coach, as an administrator, there is nothing more important than getting these teams right and making sure the procedure. You've got to double check it, triple check it, quadruple check it, and it's just sort of incompetence all around. So hopefully, we're not having the same problem in 4 years yet again.
Also thanks to David Greifinger, he did this case pro bono. So a lot of people did this. I think it's sort of unfortunate that essentially like people had to like crowdfund the money for these athletes to stand up for what's right. There needs to be some sort of fund created for athletes that they can use. And also I wish that the USOPC would step in and say, like, you've already lost one arbitration case. It's very clear you need to do this. Pick the whole team according to these rules, or USATF had done it on its own. It shouldn't have taken another 2 or 3 weeks to go by for this to happen. But it was a good step.
Right. But USATF can fight this because they're spending the company's money. It's not their money personally. So it's much easier for them just to hire an outside counsel, blow $20,000, $30,000 in this case. Whereas for the athletes, they're spending their own hard-earned money, and most of them don't have a whole lot of it. But we talked about how it's a thrill of a lifetime to wear the Team USA jersey. Let's talk about USA's. They start on Thursday, guys. Thursday through Sunday. John and Wheldon, you're going to be in Des Moines. We're going to have, at the end of the week, we're going to know which 3 people in every event are going to be representing Team USA at the big one, at the Worlds in Doha.
And speaking of top 3 in every event, we do have a sponsor for the podcast, Running Warehouse, the sponsor of the $200,019 Let'sRun.com prediction contest for USA's. Go to Let'sRun.com, enter your picks for the top 3 in all the running events and the pole vault. You can win some great prizes. The Hoka One One Clifton 6 or Running Warehouse gift certificates. It's pretty easy. Running Warehouse sponsors all our podcasts. There's a reason they're the leader in
all of our podcasts.
All of our contests. Free day two-day shipping for running shoes both ways. If there's ever any question where you should order running shoes from online, it's Running Warehouse. And we'll have the leading contenders from the contest later in the podcast.
So let's just hop right into this, guys. We've got tons of races on the track and competitions in the field. Which one, Robert, I'll ask you, which race are you most excited about at USA's this weekend?
Well, let me start by saying which race I'm least excited about, and that would have to be the women's 10,000 meters. We might as well not even have that race. Do you guys realize that there's only 3 women in the field that have the standard? Considering it's going to be hot in Des Moines, no one else is going to get it. So just cancel the race. Let those 3 women go. We've got Mario Hall, Emily Sisson, and Molly Huddle on the team. Congratulations, women. You will be going to Doha. Actually, that's not true. I'm excited to see that race because I want to see who's going to win, Emily or Molly. Okay, but to answer your question about which event I'm most excited about, it's got to be one of 3 events. The men's 800 or 1500 or the women's 1500. The men's 800, this race is phenomenal. You've got 3 total studs in it. You've got the NCAA champion Bryce Hoppel, undefeated on the year, over 20 races, is 21 or 22 in a row. He's in the form of his life. But then you also have the 2 big guns, Olympic medalist Clayton Murphy of the Nike Oregon Project and his teammate Donovan Brazier in the Nike Oregon Project Civil War. One's coached by they're really the only teammates in name only. One's coached by Pete Julian. One's coached by Alberto Salazar. You got to wonder, is Julian tired of not getting credit for coaching all these studs in that group? Does he want to have his own group? So that is really intriguing. The 1500, again, you've got sort of the NOP, BTC rivalry, the ex-NOP member, Matthew Centrowich, the Olympic champion, coming back from injury against Craig Ingos is incredible form. A couple of Brooks Beast are in good form. Who wins that? Not only that, and also who makes the team. And then the women's 1500. Shelby, Houlihan, and Jenny Simpson are total studs. I think they're safe, but who gets that third spot should be really, really interesting. Of those three, what do you guys think? Which is the best? What do we want to start with?
I think men's 1500, just because it's a debate who's going to make the team, but also who wins. Like, Ingles versus. I'm pretty confident in the men's 800, the team is going to be Brazier, Murphy, and Hopple. But in the men's 1500, Ingles versus Centro, I think it's a little bit of debate. Ingles beat Centro at pre. I'm still going to go with Centro. He's the Olympic champion. But Wheldon, you're making a disgusted face right now.
I'm shocked. Like, Craig Ingles is in great form. Like, I haven't seen him in any Diamond League meets. Like, what the hell are you guys talking about?
He finished 5th in the Bowerman Mile. Did you watch that one? The pre-classic, Wheldon?
He cherry-picked a few guys from behind. I mean, like, he was never in contention in that race.
Neither was Centro.
Exactly. That's why, like, world class this year, the 800's where it's at. Brazier and Murphy, they're, like, serious gold medal threats. And obviously, Centro's got an Olympic gold, and maybe he could be. But, okay, you guys think Craig Ingles is going to nip a bronze medal? Yeah, you guys love that, man.
Say that.
Until he does it, let's go. Come on, man. The 800 is where it's at. Like, these guys are like Diamond League stars this year. You're raving about a guy who got 5th place in one Diamond League meet all year, and he's in great form. What was his time in the mile there?
3:51. I'm sorry, Wheldon. I didn't think we were asked which event has the best chance to produce a gold medalist. I was asked which event is the most exciting to me. And to me, an event where I think I know who the 3 people on the team are already isn't as exciting as one where I don't know who's going to win and I don't know who's going to make the team.
Fair enough. But I know really why John likes the 1500, and I want you to admit this on the air right now. It's because Johnny Gregoric's in there. Johnny Gregoric, who John used to race, no matter what, like any race Johnny Gregoric's in, John loves.
That's not true. But
John beat him in a race.
I do want to say, the 2017 USA team in the 1500, Centrowitz, Robby Andrews, and Johnny Gregoric, I have beaten 2 of the 3 people in that team. I've beaten Robby Andrews and Johnny Gregoric in legitimate races. All right, granted, they were cross-country races when I beat Robby in like high school and college. But anyway, but that's not why. I mean, Johnny, I think he actually will make the team. He was my pick for 3rd. He's got a great kick. He's a 3:49 miler, Wheldon. Got to give him credit. Fastest American miler since Alan Webb. But that's not why I like this race. It's because it's a great race.
I don't know. I feel like Simpson and Houlihan, they're bringing it with world-class times. The 1500, I mean, I shouldn't argue. We have an Olympic silver medal in that event, an Olympic gold medal in that event, and world bronze medal in that event as well in the USA in the last 7 years for the men. So they are competing at the time, but like in the Diamond League, these guys are just getting their clocks blown off. And so it's hard for me to just get as excited for it as for the 800. I'm really interested in Brazier versus Murphy and Hopple.
Well, Wheldon, you were bringing up Jenny Simpson being world-class in the 1500. Robert I think Robert would disagree that she's a medal threat anymore. He started a thread. He seems to do this every few months. Jenny Simpson should go to the steeple. I mean, do you think... I think it's a fairly foregone conclusion that Shelby Houlihan will win this race. But Robert, do you even think Jenny can medal it? Is she wasting her time in the 1500? That's what you think, right?
Let's provide some rationality to this discussion, gentlemen. We'll come back to that, John. I don't want to be put on the spot for my inflammatory post on the message boards at the beginning of the podcast. Let's start with the men's 800. We'll go event by event, men's 800, men's 15, women's 15. It really depends on what you're more into, like who's going to win, or, like the battle is the third up for the grabs. The men's 800, I think is fascinating because it's one of the few distance events I think where really, well, I guess some people are going to say that Hopple doesn't have a chance of winning, but any of the 3, I think, have a shot of winning this race. I mean, how can you say Hopple doesn't have a shot of winning it when he's undefeated on the year? So who has the edge here? I mean, in terms of seasonal best, John, who's run the fastest?
Well, Donovan Brazier's run the fastest. He had the world leader until a couple weeks ago, until they started running fast in the Diamond League. But I think Donovan Brazier, he has to be the favorite. All right, for 1, he has the fastest time this year. 2, he has won a Diamond League. He won in Rome. 3, he's beaten Clayton Murphy head-to-head twice already this year, indoors and outdoors. I think he has to be the guy to beat. And, well, we've talked about how he struggled in the rounds sometimes, but his last 3 appearances at USA's, 2017 outdoors, 2018 indoors, 2019 indoors, he's won the race every time. I think he's become a more patient runner from what I've seen training under Pete Julian this year. To me, Brazier has to be the favorite, but that said, Murphy is a stud and Hoppel's been really good this year. So I think both of them have a chance at winning.
John, do you remember like when he won those races, how did he do it? How did he run the races? I used to think of Brazier sort of as a one-trick pony, kind of like a Natoya goalie. She had a male version of that. He had to go really hard and just kind of hold on. But his endurance seems so much better now, 337, the 1500. But do we remember how those races went?
Usually his preferred strategy is to sit just off the shoulder of the leader. This is basically how he won those races. I think Sawinski needed the standard in 2017, so he sort of sat behind him in that one. Or that was 2018 indoors. And then earlier this year in the 600 at USA Indoors, he didn't go out in the lead, even though he broke the world record in that event. He actually slingshotted it around. But I think, and the other thing I'm really excited about is Brazier and Murphy, they've never raced each other in a U.S. final. They've been at the same meet. They were in the same heat at the Olympic trials in 2016 when Brazier flamed out. Last year, Murphy was a DNS. 2017, Murphy was a DNS. He tried the 800, 1500 double. We've never seen these two young stars actually square off in a U.S. championship final, and we should, barring some insanity in Des Moines, which isn't unprecedented, we should see them in the final on Sunday. It should be a terrific race.
Yeah, I think, let's take a look at the Let's Run Nation polls, Wheldon, on the prediction contest. I think most people are picking Brazier, and I think that makes sense. That was your pick, John, right, in the preview. He's run 143.63. That's 0.8 of a second, which is a lot faster than Bryce Hoppel, 144.41, and Murphy's basically won for the same time, 144.47. So given his wins the last 2 years, I think he's the favorite. But we got to remember, guys, Murphy's not exactly chopped liver. He does have an Olympic medal. He may have something that these other two guys never have. But he just hasn't looked as sharp. I'm not sure that all this mile work necessarily helps his 800 that much, whereas I kind of think that the mile work, the strength work does help Brazier in the sense that Brazier's already naturally fast enough. Now he can get to the rounds because he's stronger.
Right, and that's one thing, Robert, I just wanted to add in there. We're recording this on Wednesday morning. Clayton Murphy is double entered in the 1500 and 800. And I've spoken to his agent, Paul Doyle. He said he still was undecided as of Monday, but was probably not going to do both. We're assuming he's going to do the 800 because in the 1500, I just don't see him doing anything on the global stage. But it is worth noting there's an outside chance he runs the 1500 in Des Moines.
Yes, the Running Warehouse prediction contest polls, 5 times as many people are picking Donovan Brazier over Clayton Murphy. So 76% of you guys think Brazier will win, and 17% of you think Clayton Murphy will win, and 6% for Bryce Hoppel. So Brazier is the clear favorite in the Running Warehouse prediction contest. It's pretty interesting. There was a lot of doubt about him in championship races just because he fizzled out of the 2016 Olympic trials. But he did win in 2017, as John said. But he missed all the outdoor season last year. So it's amazing just how well he's bounced back this year. We should sort of just take it for granted that he's running well. He's been running well since indoors. But he missed the whole entire outdoor season last year.
Well, he's a huge talent. I remember talking to him in Boston ahead of the New Balance Indoor Grand Prix, and he was saying he'd basically only been running track workouts. He'd been on the track for a couple of weeks, and he goes out and runs 145 indoors. He's just a monster talent. But the one guy we haven't mentioned, he was second last year. He was second in 2017, made the World Championship semifinals in London, is Isaiah Harris, the Nike Pro. He was the NCAA champ last year for Penn State. He's only raced 4 times this year outdoors. He was injured, first real injury of his career. He's only run 146.56, so he doesn't have the standard yet, but you assume he would get it if he finishes in the top 3. Do we have any? Does he have any chance, guys? What do you make of Isaiah Harris?
I don't think he has any chance of getting top 3. I guess somebody could always... 800 is a hard event. Going from that semifinal round of 24 down to the finals 8 is brutal. But guys, you want to try to get 4th here. You don't want to go for broke and go get the top 3. I know that's the goal, but finishing 4th could theoretically get you on the team. I don't think it's crazy to think that Donovan Brazier could win the Diamond League final. I think he's that much of a talent. And with Nigel Amos pulling up injured last week, that would create a 4th spot for the United States. So, but he's only run 140. Harris has only run 146.56. He's 16th fastest in the U.S. I mean, that's just a huge jump. I mean, 144.47 is pretty good, guys. I mean, remember when we had that historic 800 at the trials? What year was that? When all those guys fell across the line? I mean, that was
2008.
Yeah, but what was the time in that race? They weren't running 144.47. Wasn't it like a 145 race in the back end? So to be that fast right now is pretty impressive. 70 days out from Worlds or whatever we are.
Yeah, I mean, Isaiah Harris ran the Eastern Track League, which is a cool new thing this year. The season finale in DC on July 13th, so 11 days ago. And he's only 5th place in that race, behind Quamel Prince, Eric Swinski, Sam Ellison, Edose Ibadan, and then Isaiah Harris. So, I mean, he's getting 5th 11 days out. He's just got so far to go to try to make this team. But, Robert, that was the most informative thing I think I've heard you say in the podcast in a couple of weeks. Guys, yeah, don't forget, 4th place could make you make Worlds this year in this event. So, something to think about.
All right, and now to bring Robert down a peg, the winning time of that trials race in 2008. Simmons, winning time 144.1. Okay, if you were talking about second and third, yes, second and third, neither of them broke 145. So, just getting the facts out there.
What was their time there?
145.03 for Andrew Wheldon in second, and 145.47 for Christian Smith in third place. One of the all-time legendary U.S. races.
That race is so legendary, but Christian Smith would not be touching this team this year.
You're right.
John, I agree with you. Enough with 800. Let's move to the 1500 where Wheldon has disparaged Craig Ingos, and I think that's disrespectful. I know his high school coach, Chris Catton. I'm friends with him. I shouldn't have said that. Now people are going to know where I get my inside information. But that guy knows more about track and field than anybody. If you want to find an online coach, Google his name. He'll coach you online. And at the high school level, he coached 2 sub-9 guys back-to-back years. They're different guys.
All right, Robert, stop. Let's go. Can we say that? Sorry.
Holy
Can we keep that? I guess not. All right. Sorry.
Oh my God, that was awesome. John, you definitely can't say that. I guess there's some boundaries that we can say in the podcast. I'm stopping it there.
All right, fine. I'm sorry. Robert's going on and on about this guy. Let's talk about the races.
Anyways, let's take a look at Ingos. Wheldon's mocking him because, he's only run 1 Diamond League meet. He did finish 5th at the Bowerman Mile, which is one of the most prestigious miles in the world. He ran 351.60 there. But at 800, he's dropped down. He skipped the 145s entirely. He's run 144.68. This is a guy that really, in my mind, should have been on the 2017 team. He was in 3rd. Wheldon talks about how Ingos came from behind and sort of just ran cowardly and got a lot of guys at the Bowerman Mile late. Well, that's what Johnny G did in 2017. He was way back and nipped, Ingos right at the line for that 3rd spot. So if Ingos runs just to get top 3, there's no doubt in my mind he makes this team. The question to me is, can he win it? And John, I know in your prediction you picked Matthew Centrowitz. No. Craig Ingos is your winner. And not a shock, but a surprise. Remember, Robby Andrews, he beat Matthew Centrowitz. Centrowitz is the Olympic champion, but he hasn't been healthy. I don't know. I didn't watch that Stumptown meet last week. John, you said you watched it. You thought he was joking around and he fell back in the middle of the pack and then kicked it in and won convincingly. But when I read afterwards, he's like, yeah, these guys came around me and I realized I needed to go. That made me nervous. Didn't sound like he was joking around. He's in some sort of spare race and dudes are coming around him. Not a good sign. I'm going to go out on a limb, John. Craig Ingos, your 2019 USA 1500 meter champion.
Okay, well, I'm going to go with the Olympic champion and the greatest American miler of all time. I think I feel pretty good about that guy who's 29 years old, winning the U.S. title. 2017, right, that's a good point, Robert. He did lose to Andrews in 2017, but Centro was a shell of himself. I mean, that guy had barely done any training. He had been doing 200s a few weeks earlier and struggling to run the pace he was trying to hit. He flew to Las Vegas. He dyed his hair. He thought his season was over. I mean, I haven't seen Centro do any of that stuff this year. I think he's definitely much better than he was in 2019. And I also think he's just a better racer than Craig Ingos. I've seen Craig Ingos make mistakes in races. 2018 World Indoors, I recall, he did not run his heat very well. He still made the final. I just trust Centro. If it's close race, I think he's going to have the edge with positioning. Now, maybe Ingos has a better kick right now. Who knows? But I think Matthew Centrowitz has shown too much at this meet too many times for me to bet against him.
Okay, Ingos. Okay, I'm kind of shocked that he never run in the 145 because I think him as a very good runner. I'm very bullish on Craig Ingles. He's a great 800 and 1500 runner, but you guys are just sort of going crazy this year in what he's done. I didn't know the Sunset Tour. I mean, I knew he ran fast. He was only 0.2 behind Hoppel, so that's pretty good. I didn't actually see the race either, but because this guy, I already think of him as a good 800 meter runner. He's fourth at the last Olympic trials while in college. And we're sort of talking about times at Olympic trials, but that fourth place was only 146. So it just sort of shows how good the U.S. is now at the 800. Yeah, okay. You guys have got me around to be interested in this race.
John has me a little nervous there. I forgot Centrowitz was like going to quit in 2017 or call it a season and went to Vegas and dyed his hair. But John, I'm looking up his stats. May 18th, 2017, he ran a 3:33 1500. So that was a month before USA. So that's probably equivalent to his 352 mile this year that he ran at Pre. I also forgot that he ran 352 mile at Pre. So that's pretty good. Now I'm thinking maybe Centro could win that. But John, who are the leading candidates? I think you and I both think both of them are on the team, Ingles and Centro.
I do.
Who, in your mind, give us the next tier, who's going to be battling it out for that third spot?
Well, let's just read through. Here are the guys with the standard, Robert. We've got Craig Ingles and Matthew Centrowitz, and then you have Ben Blankenship, Johnny Gregoric, Clayton Murphy, if he runs, Sam Prekel, Henry Wynn, Isaac Yorks, Brandon Kidder. And again, Brandon Kidder has also entered the 800. So I think it's going to be one from that group is going to make the team. I'm bullish on Gregoric just because I think back of how not because I ran against him in high school, but because I look at how he made the team in 2017. And Wheldon, is criticizing Ingles here for just hanging back and kicking and blowing by people at the end. Excuse me, that's how you make 1500 teams? Like, have you watched Leo Manzano or Robby Andrews or any of these guys? Like, that is how you get yourself onto the team, is by kicking hard over the last 200. So I'm favoring Gregoric in that race for third.
Well, not just on the team. I mean, if you do it at Worlds, you get on the podium. That's how Jenny Simpson, who I like to belittle too. John, it must be genetic. Well, I don't like people kicking for third. We like people kicking for the win. But yeah, if you don't tie up, and again, I was talking to a very prominent coach yesterday, and we were talking about how hard it is, even for elite 1500 runners, to measure their effort correctly in the last 400, of a tactical race. Almost all of them tie up in the last 100. So it's hard to get that right. Some people are much better at it than others. And, I was watching, this week we were debating on the week that was, has anyone ever closed a race as well as Laura Muir did in that 1500 last week in London, a 57 in a 3:58 race. So in trying to research that, I've been watching a lot of like world championships from the last, 5, 6, 7, 8 years. To watch Jenny Simpson medal in some of these races is amazing. Like if you go back and look at 100 meters to go, like she's so far back of third. Like I want to say like 20 meters back, but the person in third has totally misjudged it going for the win and totally rigs up in the last 50 meters. And Simpson just bangs it out the same,
Right. Well, this is the thing, Robert. So you say it's important to measure your speed over the last 400 and measure your effort. But you also criticize Simpson, she's only running for third or whatever. That's not what she's doing. I've talked to her about these races, and she says, look, my goal is at the bell. My goal for the whole race is to get to the finish line as quickly as possible. And that doesn't necessarily mean running a PR, but it means if you get to the bell, how is the fastest what is the best way for you to run the fastest last lap in the race? And often it is not just going with the move whenever it is made. It is waiting and making sure that you're running the best race for you. And that is what Jenny Simpson is so good at, is measuring her effort. We saw it in the 2017 World Championship final. And by the way, you say she doesn't always kick for the win. She is a world champion on the track, 2011, Robert. So just, I feel like it's crazy that I have to stick up for the greatest American miler in history, but here I am.
Well, and let's give credit to the person who coached her to that world championship title. This person never gets any credit. I mean, she recently was an assistant coach at the University of Pennsylvania, stopped coaching. Julie Benson, fantastic. She coached a world champion. No one ever talks about that. I know Jenny eventually went back to Mark Wetmore, but let's give credit to what credit's due. Julie, congratulations on coaching her. But in the Let's Run Nation, I mean, I'm only seeing the picks for the win. So only the third pick, well, there's any way to see like who's picking third most often. The third pick, 59% of the Let's Run Nation is picking Centrowitz, 32% Ingles for the win, 4.4% for Johnny Gregoric, 2.7% of the Brooks employees are online and voting for Henry Wynn. and then Clayton Murphy getting 1%, and Glenn Blankenship, folks, getting 0.3%.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think Henry Wynn, he's not going to win the race, but I do think has a legitimate shot to make the team. I mean, he is the U.S. leader this year at 3:35:14. He was second behind Ingos in the mile indoors. Now, the one knock on Henry Wynn is he's never even made a U.S. final outdoors. But again, Ingos hasn't made a team, and we're talking about him battling for the win. So, the 1500, it's always crazy. I mean, Isaac Yorks was second last year. There was basically a blanket finish right behind Centro. If we have that again, I mean, you could have some crazy people making the team in this. So I think it's going to be a great race. And just shout out to a couple guys who won't be there. Robby Andrews, 2017 champion, has been dealing with Lyme disease and a foot injury, and he's not going to be on the start line. Leo Manzano, this is the first time since 2005 that Leo will not be at USA's. He didn't make the final the last 2 years, but sort of an end of an era there. So, yeah, who are you going with for third, guys? Who's your pick?
Well, Robert asked if I could see in the Running Warehouse polls who people were picking for third, and I can. 43% of people are picking Gregorek, 19.3% Blankenship. Some people are picking Ingles, so that means they didn't think he would win because Henry Wynn is then next at 10%, Centro, etc. But Gregorek is the heavy favorite for most people. I don't know. He's been running. He's got experience. I'm going to go with him or Blankenship. I sort of agree with the Let's Run Nation. I like his chances better than some of the Brooks guys. Just they're more experienced. They've done it at this level. But it should be an interesting race.
Yeah, I honestly, I mean, the Brooks Beast guys trained together, right? And Josh Kerr was the best of them. He's British, but he only ran 3:53 in that mile in London. I didn't think Josh looked good when I was watching that London race. I feel like he got out and thought I'm in amazing shape. It looked like he was trying to force a fast one and just started moving back. And I'm thinking, man, if I'm his teammate and I train with him, that's not going to make me feel confident. But, if you look at Gregorek, I mean, when I'm looking up his results on Telestoppager, the results database that we subscribe to, if you just look at his last 3 miles times, I know they're spread out over quite some time. It doesn't look good. You see 3:49 in March, 3:52.9 in June, middle of June, 3:54.5 at the pre-classic at the end of June. So he's slowing down in those 3 races. I know time trials really aren't his thing, but Blankenship won his heat of the Sunset Tour. He did run 3:52. I'm going Blankenship. 3:52.5 at pre. He beat Gregorek, and then he wins his heat at the Sunset Tour.
Blankenship looked great at pre till the last 100. So for actually 1,500 meters, he was the best American. I mean, granted, it's a mile race, so that's not fair. So I'm going to go with Blankenship as well, actually. Thank you, Robert, for that. Can we real quickly sort of turn back to London? We haven't discussed London, and this is USA preview. But you were talking about people mistiming their kicks. And I think the race of London, at least on the women's side in distances, was the women's 5,000 meters. It was talk of a world record attempt by Sifan Hassan. It ended up being a great 3-way race for the win. Helen O'Berry got the win, 14:20. Agnes Tirop came up for second, and Sifan Hassan was third in a European record of 14:22. But, I mean, O'Berry got the win. Hassan was just like crushing it. O'Berry's the world champ. The best 5,000 meter in the world the last 3 years. But even though she won, did anyone else sort of notice like the last 50 meters? She went too hard from like 200 to 50 to go. I don't think it was her fastest 200. She put distance on everyone and won the race. But if somebody could time their kick a little bit better, you might be able to win that race.
I agree with you as a former, college coach and stuff. I always think it's weird. I mean, I know people want to have the lead. So many of them go for the lead right before the final 200 because they want to make the other person run wide. But if I'm the person trailing, I'm just going to wait. Don't even try to pass in the turn. You still have lots of time to go. You've got, 16, 17 seconds or whatever. Just wait. The last 50, you're right. They can totally blow up and lose it there. So, but O'Berry's very impressive to me. I mean, yes, Hassan beats her in the 3,000, but the 3,000 is not the same as the 5,000. I mean, it's almost half the distance. She's basically almost unbeatable at the 5,000 right now. I know Hassan's doing well, but I think it's an interesting predicament now for Alberto Salazar because the 1,500, 5,000 double is not possible at Worlds. So he's talked about her doing the 10-5 double. I don't know. I mean,
What about the 10-15, Robert? Do you dare do that?
Well, the 10-second, yes, I would do that. That'd be more fun.
The 10's first for the women. Day 2, and then the women's 1,500. It wouldn't interfere.
Oh, well, that would be interesting. Alberto, I'm all for it.
There's our Alberto mention of the week, by the way. Yeah.
Only praise for Alberto this week if he tries that off. I'm, folks, the idiot that tried, when you talk about like Clayton Murphy trying the double, I one time tried to double a kid at the Ivy League Championships, 800, 3,000 double. Didn't go so well.
The 10K 1,500 double would be so epic. I would just love to see somebody try that. It just shows how talented Sifan Hassan is and the range she's having and, what I think good coaching can do. But, the jury is still out whether she's a 5,000 meter runner, I feel. She has a bronze at Worlds, but I just mean if that's truly her best event. And I think really she might be more of a 3,000 meter runner. Doesn't mean she can't win gold at 5,000, even win gold at 10,000. But I'm not convinced she's a better 10,000 meter runner than she is 1,500 meter runner. So to try the double in both those events would be awesome.
Yes, it would. I think I think that's the Let's Run position is we want to see Sifan Hassan try the 1,500 and 10K. We want to see people have doubled in the 10.5 before. I can't remember anyone ever doing the 10.15. And I think she could medal in both. So we'll see. But let's move on. Women's 1,500. That was the other event you were interested in, Robert. Now, Shelby Houlihan and Jenny Simpson. Can we all agree here? Shelby Houlihan will finish first. Jenny Simpson finishes second. Do we have any dissenters among that opinion?
Well, no. But there's a reason why they run the race, John. Does anyone remember what happened at the indoor championships?
Yes. A hobbled Shelby Houlihan was defeated by Colleen Quigley and then had to take time off due to injury.
Hobbled? Did we know she was hobbled at the time?
Well, I didn't know that. That's a fair point. Maybe one of these women is hobbled, or maybe Houlihan is hobbled. But that, to me, that's the only situation where she doesn't win, is if Shelby's not 100%. And we saw a race a month ago at Pre. She looked like her old self. Maybe not quite her old self. Her old self might have won since she won that race last year. But, she ran 3:59. She closed very well. I think a month later, she's going to be even better.
I think calling that upset by Colleen Quigley indoors as the way he described as a hobbled Shelby Houlihan is disrespectful to Colleen Quigley. Let's remember what happened indoors, John. Let's find the facts. Or in the winter. Now, admittedly, Shelby was training for longer distances. Remember, she won USA Cross Country. That was February 2nd. Then she shows up at USA's 3 weeks later. So I don't think she was hobbled. She just won a national championship. And the mile was on day 1. It was before the 2 mile, John. So she won the 2 mile on day 2, and she was beat straight up by Colleen Quigley in a shocker. But yes, I think Shelby's going to win this race. Again, I've already advocated. I'm on the record for Jenny Simpson to move up to the steeplechase. But that was before I watched all these videos. It is amazing how she medals in race after race when she has no business in medaling. Sifan Hassan mistimes her effort every time. She does what Costine Klosterhoffen did in that London Diamond League last week, where Klosterhoffen Coco tried to run with Muir and then just totally rigged up in the last 50 meters and went from like second place all the way down to fifth.
It's almost like someone was trying to tell you Jenny Simpson has a really good record in championship races. That's weird.
It's just like, this is ironic because I always complain about this in the sport. Like, somebody will run a good 400 and they'll be like, what could they run in the 800? Or, somebody will win like an Olympic medal, but the message board will be going crazy about some 17-year-old that ran like a 4:02 mile. Like, what's his potential? I'm like, well, it's not as the potential of the guy that just got the bronze medal. Like, let's talk about that. Running is always about what could they do, the theoretical. But that's why I want Jenny to move to the steeplechase. I would love to see her battle the 9-minute barrier, battle Emma Coburn, that you could have the Wetmore athlete versus the former Wetmore athlete. I love those type of battles. It's kind of like the North versus the South type thing. So, let's see what happens this year. And then if she gets her head beaten in at Worlds, maybe that'll move her up to the steeplechase for next year. Now,
I just want to know what the end game is here, Robert, because look, Jenny Simpson turns 33 years old next month. She hasn't run a steeple in 10 years. You think she can? Beatrice Chepkoech out there breaking the world record, running 8:44. It's probably going to take fitness around 9 flat to medal in the steeplechase in Tokyo next year. You think Jenny can just return to the steeplechase at 33 and just start running 9 flat immediately?
I mean, I'm not saying she can definitely get to 9 flat. I mean, the fact of the matter is, I was thinking, she only ran 9:12 when she was running the steeple back in the day. I actually was thinking it was 9:07. I just looked it up. It's only 9:12. So from 9:12 to 9 flat is quite a big difference. But I don't think she's going to have any trouble remembering how to steeple. I don't think it takes long to get the steeplechase technique down. I mean, Evan Jager, God, a few weeks after he picked up the event, was winning USAs in it. I mean, you're either good at the steeple or you're not. Just sort of instinctively. I think Jenny, right? Is she going to run the 5,000 at USAs? I've heard she was.
She told me her plan is to run both events. The 1,500 will be the focus in Doha. It's an impossible double, but she did say as of now her plan is to run the 5,000 as well.
So let's see how she looks there. I mean, she's run 15. She's run 15:21. I guess she did get smoked indoors and she ran that 15:33, but
I don't care about that. She's just better than the rest of the people apart from Houlihan.
And that's what I think. I think she's a better runner than John. Do you think she's not a better runner than Emma Coburn?
In flight events, yeah, but Emma Coburn's run 9:02 for the steeple. I don't know if Jenny could do that. But I do agree with I get what you're saying, Robert. Yes, if you just had them race over 3,000 meters flat, Jenny would smoke Emma.
The reason to do the steeple is because it just takes out a lot of competitors. The reality is, I mean, women's running is still not as deep as men's running in general, because of, I guess, sexism in some of these third world countries maybe. But and then in the steeplechase, male or female, you're taking out just a lot of people who are incapable of doing the event. So instead of being, 5 or 6 people deep for, it's only 3 or 4 people deep in terms of medal contenders.
And also it's pretty amazing at 32 that Jenny's still so competitive in the 15. And I think athletes across the board are stretching what's possible, at various ages. But let's have a message board post of the week. There was a post by late runner Phil. We featured this in our week that was. And this thread was, women's swimming is the only endurance sport where you get old at an extremely young age. They're talking about how on the women's side, a lot of these swimmers sort of peak out at 18, 19 years old, something we've seen a lot in women's running as well. We could have a whole topic about that, not Mary Cain's of the world, but Kaylin Whitney, Candace Hill. These are some names running USAs this year. And 4 years ago, they were, phenoms in the sprints, and now they're sort of barely in the meet. But this poster posted men's 5K times, and it's just the top times in the world. Kenenisa Bekele, age 22. Gabriel Selassie's PR, 25. Daniel Komen was 21. Borrego was 18 and a half. Gibberwitt, 24. I mean, it's just crazy how young everybody is.
I have an issue with that list, though, Wheldon. How accurate are any of those ages? Salomon Borrego was 18 when he ran 12:43. Do we know for sure about these ages?
Liberal John, when a black guy runs as fast as at 5,000, it's a fake age. But when a white dude, Jacob Ingebrigtsen, does it 13:02 last week, we now know that we know from a westernized country with a birth certificate from the day he was born can run 13:02. So,
John, a fair argument, but okay, let's add 3 years to every age. Bekele's 25, Gabriel Selassie's 28, Komen's 24 then, Borrego's 21, Gibberwitt's 27, Kipchoge's 22, Kajelka's 24. They're still not that old ages. We have this sort of fantasy, people keep training, they can get better and faster. And it's probably not the case. Your peak physical ability might be much younger than you thought. But then we have people I think this is sort of interesting, what shows what coaching can do. Sifan Hassan, her age is, thanks to Wikipedia here, she's actually younger than I thought, 26. But, Mo Farah was older when he started winning and getting better. And I think with proper coaching, you can extend. Look at Jenny Simpson, what she is doing. But I would say the general thinking is you can move up in distance and do better as you get older. But that post shows even at 5K, a lot of these guys, prime peak might be much younger than we thought. So I just think that sort of shows oh my God, we're Ingebrigtsen. What's he going to be doing 7 years from now? The question really might be, what's Ingebrigtsen doing next year in Tokyo? Same thing with Noah Lyles and all these guys as well. 2028. No, 2020, Get it while it's hot, everybody. Even with Jaeger in the sub 8, we assume, Jaeger was going to get the sub 8. Damn it, it may never happen.
This is what I read someone complaining, like on Twitter, I think, saying Jakob Ingebrigtsen's going to burn out soon. I'm like, who cares if he burns out? He's already one of the best in the world. He could win the world championship this year. Like, that is what you do. You get to the top level of the sport when you can. And okay, maybe his career doesn't last as long, but like, if he wins worlds this year and then is gone by age like 29, are people going to call his career a failure? No, he's going to win a world title. Even better, then he has the rest of his life to chill out and whatever and be healthy in his 30s.
I mean, I agree with you. Like, Noah Lyles, any of these guys, their best Olympics may be 2020. 2024 probably, I mean, Bolt was really good for 1 or 2 years, then he was still good, but he wasn't quite as good for, the next 4 or 5 after that. So there's an obsession with running with the future. Your early 20s, strike it while you're hot. Now, it'd be interesting for the women. We should have David Epstein on this podcast. We talked about this earlier with Stephanie Bruce. When you get to your mid-30s, your testosterone level goes up for the women. So maybe they could have, maybe we'll find that women could have, if they decide not to have children, longer careers.
I mean, I think in contrast to Ingebrigtsen, Drew Hunter, like we haven't mentioned him, he was a phenom in high school. He's done pretty well as a pro. But sort of this assumption, and I think we really like Tinman's training, his coach, Tom Schwartz, but this assumption, like 5 or 6 years down the road, you get better. I mean, that really helped with my own running career. But I wonder if Ingebrigtsen and this sort of stuff is going to make people sort of, I don't know, rethink like how we best go about training people, or if maybe it's okay just to burn it really hot. But this kid's been running since he's 13, so it's not apples to apples comparison, but it's just something interesting to think about.
Well, I mean, I used to talk to our coach, John Kellogg, about this. He doesn't think that running a lot is what burns you out. He thinks really hard intervals at a young age without a base is what burns you out. So they do a lot of threshold work, and John, I got to give you credit. You picked Ingebrigtsen to do well in that 5,000. You said if Hagos wasn't there, he was the man to beat. And I was thinking to myself, gosh, and also I'm trying to go against John because he's been embarrassing me recently in these predictions and stuff. But I'm thinking to myself, a dude that can't even get top 10 at World Junior Cross Country is going to win a Diamond League 5,000. I was thinking, that doesn't seem right. But then in my head, I did think to myself, look, there's a huge difference between a hilly as hell 10,000 and a 5,000. And a 1,500 runner running a 10,000 versus a 5,000 is a completely different thing. Like even someone like ultra runner Sage Candidate, he was good at 10K, 5K, no, terrible. So, but John, you were right. So he ran well, 13:02. But can we, these meets where we hear people are going to go for the world record, like Hassan, thumbs down for her despite getting the European record. She said she was going to go for a world record, right? And then nobody goes for the rabbit. Like, I don't get that.
Yeah, I think the commentators tried to say like, oh, well, she likes to run from the back, and it was she'd had an egg split in a mile world record. But yeah, the 5K is not something that you got to get the pace going immediately. So if you're going to go for a world record, you have to be up there with the rabbit in the 5K.
That's sort of the crazy thing with all these world records, right? Like Hassan breaks the world record in the mile, and Tim Hutchings on the call wasn't prepared for it. Yet in the 5K, they're talking about a world record, and she really didn't go for it. So, I mean, it's sort of like the beauty and the burden of the world records. But, Robert, I noticed you've been kind of stressed today. And I think that's because we've not been promoting Floyd's of Leadville. You need to go to floydsofleadville.com, enter code RUN2019 to save 15% on certified CBD products. Floyd's is back. We're going to have the ads back up on Let's Run. But, Robert, I mean, some of the stressful, I don't know what's going to make it, but we had to bleep out some stuff from Robert on this podcast. John had to be bleeped out. You guys are a little stressed. It's our birthday. It's supposed to be a great day.
Yeah. All right. Well, yeah, check out Floyd's of Leadville. Guys, this has been an exceedingly long tangent. Can we get back the women's 1,500? There's still a spot up for grabs that we haven't talked about here after Simpson and Houlihan.
Well, one more thing to the sponsors. I don't understand. Wheldon gets free gear. Like Hoka sends him these $175 pairs of shoes. I don't. Little Rojo here doesn't get anything. Floyd's. I can give you my address. Shoot me an email. Send me some free stuff. So who gets the third spot? That's a good question, John. You tell us.
Yeah. So, all right, here are the candidates. Here, well, I'll read off all the people with the standard here. So Houlihan Simpson, Kate Grace, Alexa Ephraimson, Helen Schlachtenhaufen, Dartmouth alum, Nikki Hiltz, Corey McGee, Katie Mackey, Sinclair Johnson, the NCAA champion, Heather McLean, and Shannon Osika. Any names stand out to you guys there?
Well, the big question to me is, what does Kate Grace do? Does she run the 800 or the 1500? I like the way you phrased this, John. You think her odds of making the team are a little bit higher at 1500, but her odds of medaling at Worlds are higher than the 800. I agree with you. I'm going to, if Grace runs it, you picked her to make the team. If she doesn't run, I'd like to go with somebody new. I'd like to say Nikki Hiltz. She's been running really, really well. That would be exciting. I have a lot of faith in the NCAA champion from Oklahoma State. So one of those two, I think.
Yeah, John, when you were naming names, like Kate Grace, if she runs it, probably makes the team. But you said names, and I'm like, I haven't really researched what people were doing. But when you're just going through them, Nikki Hiltz, I went, check. And then I was like, yeah, maybe Sinclair Johnson. I don't know if she can sort of make that jump up, but she's been running so well. So those were my sort of two initial ones. Both seem to be running very well this year. But yeah, for me, the big question is, what event does Kate Grace run here with? And this just shows people act like Caster Semenya and the DSD athletes being excluded from the 800 possibly, that this doesn't really affect people. It's just all about discrimination against Caster. But there's real life tangible things for the people behind them. And Kate Grace can go from being someone hoping to, maybe to get like 6th in the world or 5th or whatever, which is great. But without them with now in the 800, she can conceivably be a serious medal threat. Maybe not gold, but like no one's running super fast. And she could think, hey, I start doing the 8 again. Maybe I can do some serious damage there. But you making the U.S. team, it's she's probably good at the rounds. So I think she actually makes the team in both. If she tries it, I think she should do the 8.
I agree with her. I agree with you that I think she should do the 8 based just simply on the her better medal chances in Doha. I mean, even with the uncertainty, we don't know. We don't know how it's going to unfold. But
maybe she's bought into the 1500 mindset. It's weird. It's like, do you do what you're training for the 1500? You think you're 1500 runners? You're kind of it was right though. The XY thing has totally changed it up. I mean, one thing that's interesting to me there is, I mean, if you look at somebody like Sinclair Johnson, I think she just ran 2 flat, didn't she? High 0.9 or something. So, she's run 406, but she beat Jessica Holt in NCAAs. Jessica Holt then went to pre and beat Kate Grace 402.62. So you're like, well, she's run 2 flat. That's really good. She could probably run 402. But then you remember Kate Grace just ran 159, but then Holt beat her. So that's a dead heat. Nick Hiltz has been running really well, but she's been at a much lower level of competition. She's run 201, I think, and 405 or something, John?
Yeah. Let me throw one more name out there as well. Danny Jones. 4-time NCAA cross-country champion. Sorry, 4-time NCAA champion. She is the reigning NCAA cross-country champion. She doesn't have the standard. She was 5th last year. What do we think? Any chance?
Let me throw one word out there, John. No.
Yes, and I'll throw 2 words out there. I agree with Wheldon. I was all into Danny Jones about a month ago. I thought she would destroy Frameson, folks. And this is a big race for Frameson, guys. John, I know you think I'm obsessed with these teenagers, but she got close to that PR, and then ever since then, it's been going downhill. I mean, I guess Edward Cheswick just PR after 5 years, but I'm starting to get worried about her future prospects. But Danny Jones, she only ran 409.68 at the Sunset Tour. So, no, she's not going to do this, John. Don't even contemplate that.
Wow. The stock, the Danny Jones stock on this show has plummeted over the last month. This is wild.
But anyways, I think that, did I make an official pick for 3rd?
I don't remember. My pick is Grace if she runs, Nikki Hiltz if Grace doesn't run.
I want to say that, but I want to pick Sinclair, but I almost don't want Sinclair to make it because I don't want her to go pro. I want her to wait another year, dominate the NCAAs, and then really strike it when you're hot. Break 4 minutes next year, and then the shoe companies will be lined up for it. But guys, check back for the message board. Maybe we'll make our official picks known or something like that.
So wait, you're just hedging on a pick here, Robert? No. Make a pick. Who's going to finish 3rd?
Well, if you picked Hiltz, I don't really gain from picking Hiltz, do I? But if I pick Sinclair and she goes pro, I'm going to be upset about it.
Don't pick just based on what I'm picking. Pick on who you think is going to make the team.
I have to look at Mickey Hiltz's seasonal best. Just 1 second, John.
It's 405.
Oh, that's a stretch. Sinclair Johnson. Looking at the non-distance, is that good enough for you, John?
Yeah, no, that was good. I think go on to something else.
Okay, let's talk about the non-distance races. What excites you guys? Some fantastic sprinting, obviously. I mean, in the men's, we're going to have the Christian Coleman, Noah Lyles in the 200. My God, I wish Michael Norman was in the 200. That would be the event of USA's if those three guys were all in it. But 200, 400 double is not really going to happen this year. The 100, 200 double for Lyles is going to happen. Coleman, thumbs up for doing both events. That's going to be a great one. You got Gatlin versus Coleman in the 100.
Gatlin's only going to run one round. That's not happening.
Oh, that's true. Folks, if you're in the Let'sRun.com prediction contest, take Gatlin out.
That's kind of funny, right? So in the prediction contest, we have 96.6% with Coleman, 3.1 picking Gatlin, who's only going to run one round because he's the defending world champion. And then the other 0.3 picked Ronnie Baker, who hasn't run a race all year. So I wonder if 100% of people, I mean, I guess the 0.3, that's it.
How does Coleman not win that race other than a full start, you know?
Pulls up injured.
Let's hope not. But, all right, I have a very clear answer for what I'm most interested in the sprints. Allyson Felix. She has not run a race all year. She gave birth last year, wasn't running well before that, and then it turned out she was pregnant. We don't even know. Does she have a Nike contract? We don't know whether she's under contract or not. She's 33 years old. She's the silver medalist from the last World Championships. Does she have anything left? What does her fitness look like? We don't really know. Oh, sorry, she was bronze medalist in the last World Championships. I apologize. I just have no idea. There's so much uncertainty around her. I'm very interested to see what she can do in the 400 because, honestly, you look at the rest of this field, it's not that strong an event. Typically, it's a very good event. They do have the reigning world champion in Phyllis Francis, but she hasn't looked the same, and she's not even entered in that event at USA's. So how the hell does Allyson Felix do?
John, do we know if Ashley Spencer's entered in the 400 and 400 hurdles or just the 400 hurdles?
I can look it up right now. She's only in the 400 hurdles.
Okay. Well, Felix is a fascinating case. I mean, we have no idea. That's definitely not the event I'm most excited to see. I mean, that might be one of the biggest storylines I want to see.
Yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah.
The event that I'm fascinated by, and again, this is why the whole idea of cutting the Diamond League events down is stupid, because one of the events that might go on the chopping block would be the 400 hurdles, and yet it's one of the best events in track and field on the men's side right now. I mean, that 400 hurdle race at Worlds might be the best event in the history of running. If three guys could all break the world record at one time, I mean, it'd be crazy. But on the women's side of the USA's, does anyone besides me realize that the U.S. has the top 4 women in the world right now? Everyone's just assuming Sydney McLaughlin's going to win this. She's at 53.32. Delilah Muhammad, 53.61. Shamir Little, 53.73. And then Ashley Spencer tied for 4th at 54.11. That's 4 women. Yes, one of them probably will win the Diamond League, but guess what? That doesn't matter. We're not going to send those 4 to Worlds because we've got the reigning world champion in Corey Carter who will take that 4th spot. So one of those women is not going to make it, probably Ashley Spencer, but that to me is a fascinating event. Imagine the drama somehow. I mean, I guess McLaughlin's got 0.8 of a second over 4th, but that's a really interesting one to me.
Well, you say we're all assuming Sydney McLaughlin's going to win. Isn't she? I mean, have you watched her race this season, Robert? She hasn't lost. She's looked really good. She won her Diamond League debut in Oslo, even though she clattered that first hurdle. She set the world leader in Monaco. I mean, I haven't seen anything to suggest that she's not going to win this race.
Yeah, I agree. And she's been getting faster, whereas Delilah Muhammad ran her seasonal best on May 3rd, 53.61, then 53.88, 53.67, and then only 54.35. I think Delilah
Muhammad, Robert.
Excuse me. I think when she raced Sydney in that last race, it was sort of in her head. She tried to force it and run faster. Just, you got to worry about the hurdles, run your own race. But no, she's a big star. It's a high quality event that could push her down to, how fast can she go?
I mean, the world record is, I don't think she'll break it at USA's, but that's on the table. I'm very impressed with how McLaughlin has handled her first year as a pro. I mean, we knew she was a big talent, but she changed coaches to Joanna Hayes from Edric Floreal. And she was only with Floreal for a year, so this is her 3rd coach in 3 years. For her to be out there and still dominating the event as a 19-year-old.
Yeah, and to be handling publicity. And isn't she out in LA? She's doing she's got real endorsements or potential for real endorsements and sort of as a social media star. So she's handling it all very well. Yeah, the world record 52.34. So she's got a ways to go for that, John.
I mean, fair enough. McLaughlin's running well this year. She did run faster last year. So, let's see where the season ends up. She very well could have the world record, but if she doesn't run faster than last year, then you're like, hey, should she have changed coaches? I mean, I think we're sort of getting a little bit ahead of ourselves, but 92% of people are picking her. And I think the Ashley Spencer thing, if she makes the team, she's got a good shot of medaling at Worlds, but looks like she probably won't make the team, which is pretty crazy. And the funny thing is, like, she used to be a 400-meter runner, so she switched over. And now the U.S. is so weak at 400. It's sort of crazy how weak we are. We have 3 people under 51 seconds this year, no one under 50. And so the good thing for Allyson Felix is making the team at 400 is probably about as easy as it's ever been. The bad thing is, she doesn't run a race all year. John asked, does she have a Nike contract? She's entered as Nike, so I assume that's a yes. But, if Allyson Felix never makes the team again, I wouldn't be shocked. I mean, I don't know. It's just, give me a couple races. Most likely, I assume she does come back and make some teams, but give me a couple races, see how she's doing. And it'd also be interesting how they pick the 4x4 teams, because some of the best people in the U.S. right now on actual flat out 400s are in the 400 hurdles. So I assume they can pick from them. But it used to be like, hey, you get 4th of the USA's, and the 400 you're on the 4x4 team. This year probably won't happen.
Yeah, well, I mean, so we actually have 5 Americans who've broken 51 seconds this year, Wheldon, and 2 of them, the 2 of the top 3, Dalilah Muhammad is number 1 at 50-60, and Sydney McLaughlin is number 3 at 50-78. 2 of them are 400-meter hurdlers. So I think both of them could make the U.S. team in the flat 400. They just happen to be running the 400 hurdles.
Speaking of the 4x4, folks, when does the clown show begin? Folks, I'm referring to. Claude Lewis has referred to the mixed gender 4x4 as the clown show. I know we're going to have it in the 2020 Olympics. Are we going to have it this year?
Yes, it's a total mess. It's just it's totally cheapening a gold medal. They get the same gold medal that the people in the regular relay do. You just diluting the talent pool.
Well, I don't have a problem with it. I think we need to have one or the other, because now we're going to have to hear about how Allyson Felix has even more medals, because she can now run the 4x1, 4x4, and mixed 4x4.
Why is it a clown show? I'm up for these different events. What was the race? The 2x2x4? Why don't we have a 2x2x4x1x2 or something? I'm just making up numbers. But, like a 100 men and then a 400 women.
Well, I don't know why. I don't know why people are just opposed to it. I don't know why Lewis referred to it as the clown show, because
who Lewis? Who?
Carl Lewis.
Oh, Carl Lewis. Yeah.
I think that at some level, trying to market the sport is better. But I do think that one of the things that some people may have a problem with is, I think it's sort of, do you think the intention of this at some level, which is stupid, is to try to say like, oh, men and women's sports are the same and they're the equivalent? And I don't know. They're just not. If anything, it shows you how much slower the women are, because you can run the men and women any leg, and some woman's got like a 30-meter lead. She's going to be gunned down by some guy. It looks exciting when someone's way behind and if the teams don't run all the same genders, but eventually people will figure out the right order to run, and it won't be as exciting because people won't be coming way behind, or they'll have a yellow line like to show you how much of the ground they should be able to make up. It'll still be exciting, I think.
No, this is one of those events that sounds really cool in theory, and then when you actually get to the process of implementing it in a 10-day meet, where most of the athletes who are running it are either in the individual 400 or might be wanting to run the 4x4 for the single gender, it's just a mess. It's not that exciting. I've watched it at the World Relays. It's not that great a race. Like, I just don't think they should be handing out Olympic gold medals. The Olympics should be about the best of the best, and adding in a secondary relay that maybe the Bahamas loads it up. They have like Stephen Gardner and Shawnee Miller-Weibo, but then you're taking them out of the regular single gender 4x4. I just think it's a stupid, unnecessary event, and it's not as cool as it sounds.
But maybe a lot of smaller countries don't have 4 good men, but maybe they have 1 or 2 good women. So maybe it can be one better race. Than the problem is, if you just had 1 better race, I'd be for it, than 2 mediocre races. But I think what you're going to have end up having is like 3 mediocre races.
Yeah, and they could space it out, right? So that.
Well, they are. At the Olympics, I know that you can do all 3. Open 4, mixed gender.
Well, that shouldn't be allowed, because I think the whole point of it is to like mix things up. And I wonder if it should be better if they like mandated like men and women don't race together. They just pull the names out of the hat out of some random order. I mean, I think we want chaos. You want chaos. You want some unpredictability in track and field, and maybe by a couple countries, like if Bahamas stacks it and the U.S. team isn't that good, Bahamas can win. I mean, the Bahamas has beaten the U.S. before regularly, but sort of maybe some upsets is what the sport needs. But the event looks cooler when the men are chasing down the women. I mean, that event does, versus when all the women run together and all the men run together. That's just sort of like a standard 4x4. It looks kind of whatever.
Well, guys, we've talked about some of the sprint action at USA, some of the distance action. We can't go through all the events. We could, but we don't want to. I think we should wrap this baby up soon, but I'd like to give a shout out. I gave him a shout out in my Week It Was column. Congratulations, Edward Chesrick. Your PR from your freshman year of college has finally gone down. Glad to see you running well. And what do you think, guys? Should he run for Kenya or not?
If he wants to run at the Olympics, he needs to run for Kenya, because who knows when he's going to get his American citizenship. But he seems like he wants to run for America. So if that's what he wants to do, he's not going to run at the Olympics anytime soon.
Yeah, he's not going to be an American citizen anytime soon unless the laws change. And that was the thread of the week. Edward M.F. Chesrick runs 13:04 for the win in Houston. We don't need to have a deleted thread of the week this week because it's the USA Championships. Everybody get in your picks for the prediction contest. Thank you, Running Warehouse, for sponsoring. Don't forget to get your CBD products from Floyd's of Leadville. Use code RUN2019 to save 15%. And the guys who chipped in to the GoFundMe, it's kind of crazy because we're on the hook for it anyway. If you don't chip in, we maybe should interview some of them and have social scientists study why you're contributing. But some people asked beforehand. They said, hey, they wanted to contribute to the cause. So that's all pretty interesting. Thanks to them as well.
Well, they're going to get a free exclusive Let's Run.com t-shirt if they donate more than $50. So that probably will go up in value and be worth several $100s in a few years.
Oh, speaking of great stuff in the Let's Run.com community, I mean, yeah, we had two big victories with the trials and everything this week. But the shoe site, letsrun.com/shoes, we've been promoting it. The response has been amazing. Last time Robert said over 1,000 reviews. He meant like in the last month, not ever. We have like, I think 8,000 reviews or something total. But in the last month, and that's really the last 2 weeks, let's see if we've cracked the number, nearly 1,500 new shoe reviews. So if you want to see the best shoe reviews on the planet, and you can find like what the best shoes for marathon runners are, the best shoes for pronators, most popular shoes on Let's Run. You can find a great deal on your shoes, letsrun.com/shoes. John, I'll see you in Iowa tomorrow. Robert, happy birthday.
Yep, looking forward to it, Wheldon. Happy birthday, Robert. Happy birthday, Wheldon. Happy Founders Day to all.
And happy birthday to the Ziegel twins. John, do you know who they are?
No.
Google it. All right, everybody. Till next week.